The subconscious mind does not respond to anything out there. It responds to what it thinks is true. So if people keep saying to themselves, as they often do across the world, I want 100 million against my name, the subconscious mind will always assume that you keep wanting it. I want it. But if the subconscious mind believes, I have $100 million, I already am worth $100 million, then the pattern starts to change.
Why am I fooling myself to think I am rich, I am wealthy, when I know I'm not? I do have a lot of scarcity mindset within me.
The concept of convincing yourself that you already are this, it will happen out there, because the minute you do that, you already change your vibrational frequency pattern.
Why some people, when they have enough wealth, when they're millionaires and billionaires, they're not satisfied? Why enough money doesn't satisfy us? Why do we want more and more and more?
In a lot of cases, you'll get an answer that, well, I'm not doing it to get the next 10 million. I'm doing it because I thrive when I run my business. I thrive when I do this activity. I feel alive when I do X, when I do Y, when I do Z. These are people, Rangoli, who are living their dharma.
Hello and welcome back to your favorite spiritual podcast, Speaking Tree, and this is Rangoli Sharma with you. Who doesn't want to be wealthy in life? I believe that money is a foundation of human lives. So much that we do for money. Infinite riches is beyond money. In today's podcast, we learn how to generate wealth. Why do some people do not have a good connection with money or wealth even after years of struggles? Why do people who adopt unhealthy methods, unethical methods to earn money, they keep thriving and thriving? Does universe support them? In today's episode, you will learn how to manifest more money, more wealth, more abundance for you. And the guest we have for today is the one who is helping thousands to break free from inner limitations. He is the one who is helping people to manifest wealth and abundance, and he can help you as well. The best-selling author of the renowned book, Manifest Your Infinite Riches, the founder of Center for Infinite Riches, I would like to welcome Pushkar Anand. So welcome to Speaking Tree.
Thank you so much, Rangoli. That's a very colorful introduction, and I feel rather important being here. Thank you very much, and I hope we can do all that you said in the conversation to follow and help our audiences manifest their infinite riches.
Our pleasure, sir, and I'm sure it's going to be a very insightful discussion, very abundant discussion in itself.
And I very much look forward to that. That is the idea. We want to uplift humanity here, Rangoli, and every person we touch, we want to empower them to have the ability to become the person they always meant to be.
Definitely, sir. So, sir, when we talk about wealth, I think wealth is the foundation of human lives, because there is so much that people do for money and only for money, if I'm not wrong. But at the same time, there is a section of people who earn money with not so nice ways. So there are people who earn money unethically. So do you think it creates a negative karma? Because what I have seen is that people who earn money unethically, universe doesn't stop them. Rather, they keep thriving.
It's a very, very interesting point you make, Rangoli, and a very valid observation. So I'll take you back, and I'll take audiences back a step. Often people have conversations across the world, across cultures, and every day just having a conversation or a drink that, why are some people wealthy? Why are some people inherently rich? And the answer that comes out always is, almost always I'd say, is that, that person's intelligent, that person's born into a wealthy family, that person's a rich country. And I say that's rubbish. That's got nothing to do with it. If that were the case, everybody born in a so-called rich country would be rich. Everyone in a so-called poor country would be poor. If it had anything to do with the family you're born in, everyone in the same family would have the same financial results. But it's never like that. And a staggering statistic, 1% of the world's population owns 50% of global wealth. And half the world's population owns 1% of global wealth. Now put all of this thing together. There's one little thing lurking out there which people don't know. The amount of money against your name is down to just one thing. One thing. Your vibrational frequency alignment with money. It's got nothing else to do with anything.
Really?
Absolutely. It does not mean where you're born or how nice you are or how kind you are will determine the amount of money against your name. Those factors might pivot in a different way, which we can talk about as we get through the conversation. But the amount of money against your name is down to your unique vibrational frequency alignment with money. That's it.
So, sir, you talked about alignment. So, how to get into that alignment first? And how to have a better relationship with money? How to be wealthy? That would be the question of people.
Which is humanity's question across the world. And let's dive straight into it. We talked about your vibrational frequency alignment with money. What a lot of people would ask is, what is this thing of vibrational frequency alignment?
Yeah.
And that comes back to what we call our mind. Our mind is not our brain. It's not. Our mind is an intangible enterprise we're gifted with. And that consists of the conscious, subconscious mind. In the subconscious mind, there's something called patterns. Let's just call them, that's something called patterns. Because those are the bits in there which determine the physical experiences you have. And to manifest is another word for physical experiences in your life.
Yeah.
The point there is, if we understand how to change those patterns in the subconscious mind, your relationship with money starts to fall into place. And we created a trademark concept called the 6 Statutes of Money, which does exactly that. But then, this goes hand in hand with the concept of purpose. And I talk about this across the world. Here we're talking in India, so I'm assuming our audiences know this word called dharma. When you live your purpose, you're living your dharma. Mm-hmm. It's that purpose-money alignment which comes together to literally manifest your infinite riches. Then you have the amount of money you want, a lot of money against your name, but you're not chasing the money. This is such a valuable point here. When you're living your dharma, you're living your purpose, the money chases you. We can talk about what that happens, how it happens, but just to touch upon that point here, your dharma, your purpose, is the calling of your soul. It comes from within. Your soul is a fragment of what I call universal spirit, or God, or the Force, if you're a Star Wars fan. Now think about it. If you're following the calling of your soul, you're following the voice of God or the force out there. When you follow that voice, you're actually doing God's work.
Yeah.
And when you're doing God's work, the money chases you. You don't chase the money. But to get that into a practical way is transformative. It's a very simple concept. It's not an easy concept because it needs us to go back to the core, to where it all started, and start afresh.
But one point that I would like to mention here, Anand, is that unfortunately, people do not have that mindset that, it's my dharma. So how to get into that mindset is the first question.
Which is a very valid question because often what we as human beings do, we complicate things. We're very good at it. And it's not a country thing, it's a humanity thing. Because there are beliefs and conditioning that comes down over decades through generations. Most people are told by parents by their parents in the previous generation that we have to go out and earn a living.
Yeah.
Somehow have the amount of money you want against your name, and then do what you like. Go and do this profession because it'll pay you well. Go and do that because it'll pay you well. Now, when that happens for decades and decades in countries and cultures across the world, that starts to become the norm with almost all of humanity, 90%, 90% plus. And when that happens, almost everyone is literally chasing their tail because they're living a day-to-day kind of existence versus a purpose-driven existence. Now, when that shift happens, it's a complete change. Why that shift hasn't happened is because that knowledge or that information hasn't been put in front of people in that manner. When you're trying to change something, you need to put it in front of the people who's supposed to change. When people read it, the first time it's information. The second time, it is further information that starts to knock on the door of knowledge. The third time, it's knowledge. Then you take it into execution because we need repetitive messages to go inside of us so they can change patterns in the subconscious mind. Repetition of information is what brings about change. And that has not been done on our planet the way it should have been done. And that's the mission we're on.
So you talked about chasing, and we chase the things that we don't have. You know, Pushkar, it's a very interesting and funny thing that as a child, I used to think, what if everybody was wealthy? Then people want to go for it, then people won't chase it. It won't be so valuable, I believe, as it is now. What do you think?
I think that's a great idea, and that is how the world should be. And there should be a lot more, because if everyone had the same amount of money, I'm not going to use the word wealth here in this context because wealth could go so much beyond money.
Yeah.
But let's say if everyone had the same amount of money, the financial vibrational frequency of the planet would go up.
Yeah.
Then nobody's chasing money. Then automatically people would look for fulfillment outside of money.
Yeah.
That'll automatically steer them, Rangoli, in the direction of purpose, dharma. When that happens, because everyone is so aligned at a soul level, the vibration goes further up. But that has not happened today.
Yeah.
And perhaps the way to do it is, rather than come up with a magic wand which gives everyone a certain amount of money, we try working towards empowering people to become the person they're always meant to be. And that's down to a 4-pillar model we can pick up separately. But when everyone's on the path to become the person they're always meant to be, they're living their purpose. And then the purpose-money relationship kicks in. And automatically, people start going up on the vibrational purpose, and the financial vibration also goes up. And we go closer to a world that you used to visualize about as a child. And that itself is no coincidence that you and I are sitting and having this conversation this very day, because there's a huge vibrational match between what's there, your end, and my end. Now, you might be a woman wearing a sari, I might be a man wearing something else, it doesn't matter. We might be sitting in completely different parts of the world, we aren't. We're both sitting in sunny New Delhi talking together, that's fine. But the vibration goes way beyond time and space. A vibrational match could be between two people, it could be between you and money, or it could be with any other way.
Yeah.
But it transcends time and space, and that is what brings things close to each other. People talk about the law of attraction. Law of attraction, you attract what you're aligned with. Follows the law of vibration. What vibrate attracts. So get the vibrational match, then you attract. And across the world, I see this term, law of attraction, is often used. No, I attract something. Well, you attract it if you're in the same vibration. Think vibration, not attraction.
So you talked about the law of attraction. I want to know more details of it. Do you really think that manifestation techniques actually work when it comes to money? Like people use visualization, vision boards, affirmations. Can they really make you rich?
They absolutely do. But let's define the word rich here, Rangoli. We'll go a bit detailed here. So I start the book with these words. Yes, you are infinitely rich. You are infinitely rich because you are you. I don't use the word you have infinite money. Because money is a response to doing certain things in certain ways, which tie in with your vibrational frequency alignment. You started the conversation saying there are lots of not very nice people or something along those lines, who keep getting more and more money.
Yeah.
And absolutely they get a lot of money because money doesn't respond to niceness.
Wow.
But being infinitely rich responds to your purpose and money coming together. You could have a lot of money against your name by doing a lot of exercise and taking action, which is not aligned to your purpose. But you won't be infinitely rich. You can have all of that money against your name and be infinitely rich when you do exactly what is spelled out in the book, which talks about God knows how many real-life examples of people across the world who've done it and transformed.
Yeah.
So let's go back. I said earlier, I used the statement, later in the conversation, we'll go back to the absolute core, where it all began. We said earlier, law of attraction follows the vibration you're on. By that logic, the law of vibration is up there, law of attraction is secondary. Your vibration is another word for the pattern in the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
We all manifest from the time we're born because all of us have physical experiences in our life. Manifestation is nothing but having a physical experience. That's all. I want $100 million against my name. You have it in the bank account, you manifested it. I'm dying to have a steak for lunch, or I'm dying to have butter chicken for lunch. You manifested it. So whether we realize it or not, whether we accept it or not, we're always manifesting anyway. Because those patterns are there. The gap is, when we have things in our life that we don't want, we consciously think, I'm saying consciously think, that we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Your luck is bad. No, it's got nothing to do with your luck. You're manifesting it anyway, because it's the wrong pattern in there. Mm-hmm. And those patterns get established over years and years of repetition when we are little. Often under 10, under 7, 8, that kind of bracket. So just as it took a lot of work there to instill those patterns in, it takes work even today to replace them as adults. Yep. So a manifestation experience, a physical experience in your life, is nothing but an outward reflection of what is in there. Yeah. And what is in there is a pattern in the subconscious mind. Yep. So let's stop at that for a second. The key message for audiences is that you've always been manifesting, all of us have been. But the manifestation is just an outward physical experience of the pattern in the subconscious mind.
Now, I'm sure the audience wants to know how to fix that pattern. That is the biggest task.
And that is exactly the question you raised.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
Yeah.
But I had to give this background to set the context there. And this is where it takes us to another provocative kind of statement. The subconscious mind does not respond to anything out there. It responds to what it thinks is true.
Yeah.
So if people keep saying to themselves, as they often do across the world, I want 100 million against my name, the subconscious mind will always assume that you keep wanting it. I want it. But if the subconscious mind believes I have $100 million, I already am worth $100 million, then the pattern starts to change. And you have it in your physical life, in your physical world. The subconscious mind puts out there what is in here, not what you want will be in here some point in the future. So that's the first thing to take away. All the techniques that are out there, all the many methods that are out there, have to take you back to the emotion feeling inside of you that you already are who you want to be, that you've already become the person you always meant to be. It's not that you will become. Before the book came out, before we did what we did, took it to 50 plus countries, got a bestseller, did this, did that, In my mind, it had already happened.
Yeah. As you were talking off the camera. One question. If you do not have enough money to even meet the basic needs, how would you feel that I'm abundant, I'm rich, when you know you're not? Because it's so easy to think that, I would apply this law of attraction. But if in reality, you know your situation, it's so difficult to manipulate yourself. I'm sure this would be the question of many people, that I know the reality. Why am I fooling myself to think I am rich, I am wealthy, when I know I'm not? I do have a lot of scarcity mindset within me. How to fix that? For example, how would a beggar feel that I'm rich when he knows he doesn't have the basic money to make the ends meet, to, arrange for the whole day's food?
Yeah, and that's a very, very powerful observation, a question we should spend a few minutes on. So let me ask you, Rangoli, and all of our audiences, have we heard of a man called Steve Jobs?
Yes, absolutely.
For anyone who hasn't, he's the chap who founded Apple. Those of us who've studied Steve, we'd say he used a term called RDF. It's called reality distortion field. If Steve Jobs wanted something done and he'd believe it can be done in a month, he'd go and shake up all of Apple to do it. People would always come back and tell him, no, I need 3 months, I need 2 months, I need 4 months. And he'd push them and then say what is needed to be done. He'll keep pushing them. They'll say it's not possible. They make a list of what's needed to be done, and then they work backwards how to make that happen. Yeah. But Steve always went with this feeling inside of him. This is how it's going to be. Actually, it already is. Now, you might turn back and say, well, that was Steve Jobs. Great, that was Steve Jobs. But Steve Jobs was trying to bring something into his life which he didn't have. But Steve was a grandmaster manifester. There's a lot he had studied. He'd said to people that when he dies, at his funeral, Autobiography of a Yogi should be given to everyone who comes. That's one of my favorite books. He's a deeply spiritual man.
Mine too.
And there you go. What we're talking here, we are talking spirituality.
Yeah.
Now, somebody might argue and say, no, you're talking abundance. Well, why is abundance not spiritual?
Yeah.
And we can go into that separately, but the point being here, the core message, the core theme we're going after is that if you can master the concept of convincing yourself that you already are this, it will happen out there. Because the minute you do that, you already change your vibrational frequency pattern. You're not where you want to be. The innumerable frequencies, one above the other, one below the other. When you start this, you automatically move up from 1 to 2 or 3 notches above. So you're already closer to where you want to be. Now, when you get to the next higher one, you're given guidance, which might seem logical, might not seem logical, to take action. I call it ongoing guided action. The first man or woman who ever interviewed me was Jack Canfield, one of my mentors for years. And he's used a term for 40 years called inspired action. I use ongoing guided action. We both laughed about it. But that is, Napoleon Hill said 100 years ago in Think and Grow Rich, he said, if you don't act on these hunches, on these intuitive pushes, or take action, you'll not get there. Because these are messages coming from universal spirit, from God. Take the action, you change your vibration. You change your vibration, you get to the next vibration frequency. You get closer to where you have to be. Mm-hmm. And you gradually start going there. That is what happens. Now, why would a beggar convince himself that he's wealthy? Well, the first thing we have to do is make sure the beggar knows what it is we're teaching. Anyone, whether it's Steve Jobs, who's worth a few billions then, or a beggar, to start doing any of these things, Rangoli and our audiences, is that people need to know this can be done. You do something in practice when you theoretically know it can be done. So to answer the question you started, why would a beggar do it? Forget about a beggar, even somebody who's wealthy but doesn't know this, and has had the wealth because the pattern is already there. The person doesn't know the pattern. Will not do it until they have access to this information. So my duty is, my mission is to uplift humanity. I do that by empowering everybody I touch to become the person they always meant to be. And that in turn happens when this information goes in front of them. And when the information goes, the penny drops. Whether it's a beggar or it's a king, they will start doing it because everyone wants more out of life. And we can talk about that as well. Why does everyone want more out of life? That's a very interesting question. It also comes back to the core theme of what we're talking about here. But I hope that gives perspective to our audiences and listeners here around how to go in that direction and to make sure that things actually happen. And then we can talk specific techniques if you like. Yeah.
So Pushkar, before we move on to what's more out of life, I want to ask this. Why some people, when they have enough wealth, when they're millionaires and billionaires, they're not satisfied? Why enough money doesn't satisfy us? Why do we want more and more and more?
I think we need to look at two concepts here. One is why more? More in terms of anything, not necessarily money. And we'll come to that in a second. But before we get there, we say, why are some people not satisfied with enough money? When we ask that question, we often assume anybody who's getting wealthy and wealthier is doing it because the person wants more money. That's an assumption we make. But if we go and speak to a lot of these people, in a lot of cases, you'll get an answer that, well, I'm not doing it to get the next 10 million. I'm doing it because I thrive when I run my business. I thrive when I do this activity. I feel alive when I do X, when I do Y, when I do Z. These are people, Rangoli, who are living their dharma. They're living their purpose. They've got their relationship with money sorted out. So they keep living their purpose, where they love money, but they're not chasing the money. They're not chasing anything actually. They are living what they love, their purpose. And because they're doing certain things in certain ways, and their vibrational frequency alignment with money is exactly where it should be, the money chases them and it keeps coming and more keeps coming. But most of them are not doing it for the money. They're doing it for something much more. But they still want more. They want more success. Success could be defined as taking their purpose to the next level. So when we're sitting here, and I'm living my purpose to uplift humanity and doing all that I do, my biggest driver is not the fact that, there's more money that's going to come. I absolutely love the money.
Yeah.
And I do, like all of us, do my best to make sure my relationship with money is in a good place. My vibrational frequency alignment is in a good place. But money is not driving me. What drives me across time zones, across countries, over the world, is to live my purpose and get the message out there. And that is where the purpose, dharma, money connection happens. One of my favorite films, and I'm sure lots of our audience, and you would have seen it as well, is Chariots of Fire, 1981. Now, when Eric Liddell is running that final race in the Olympics, the voice that we as audiences there, viewers, listen to, is God made me for a purpose, but God made me fast. And when I run, I feel God's pleasure.
Yeah.
And he runs so fast, beyond God knows how many other 7, 8 athletes, the best in the world as well, and wins the race by a huge margin. You see, Rangoli, he's out there not to win the race from an ego perspective. He's out there doing God's work.
Yeah.
And that passion, or that energy, or that magic from within, just takes him to a different level altogether. I'd read a long time ago this book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. And he lists one of your favorite books. Now, in the introduction, Viktor Frankl says, I tell my students all the time, do not chase money, especially in the short to medium term. Don't aim at success. Those are the exact words. Don't aim at success. Something along the lines, I can't remember the exact words, but the more you aim at it, the more it goes away. Focus on doing what you're focused on doing, and the money will come as a side effect. And I absolutely love that. As a matter of fact, I start the book with a chapter called Money. One of my favorite quotations is Steve Jobs. So we start the book with this chapter on money. And he says, I never did it for the money. Being the richest man in the cemetery doesn't matter to me. Going to bed at night saying we've done something wonderful, now that's what matters to me. Further down the first page, I say, one of the most influential philosophers of our time, Bob Proctor, he used to say the key to creating wealth for yourself is to understand that money is not the goal. This is such a hugely relevant, yet often misunderstood concept. You sort out a relationship with money. You don't chase the money. You live your purpose. You live your purpose. You assume you've already become the person you always meant to be. Follow the rules and the 6 statutes of money. Do all of these things. Do the exercises, which are useful, but this is far bigger than exercises. And the money chases you. You don't chase the money. It chases you.
Pushkar, what about people who struggle with money? Like, even after years of hard work, they cannot manifest money in their life. Is it really that simple that they are not in the alignment that we talked in the beginning of the podcast? I don't think that could be the only reason. There must be some other reasons as well.
It is very simple, but it's not easy. I think I said this earlier. It's very simple because everything that manifests in your life is the direct function or relationship of the pattern, the subconscious mind, including the amount of money against your name. Very simple concept. Now, what almost everyone would say, Rangoli, as you said, that just sounds too simple and basic. There's got to be something else. Well, why? Why do we as a global society, humanity, convince ourselves that having money against our name is difficult? The very fact that we bring up that question across the world means that the belief in there is it's difficult. Because that is what has come down for generations. There's a term I use in the book called DR-cube, the daily rat race bubble. Okay. We're so stuck up in the daily rat race bubble, and we're so convinced that money is a difficult thing to have, that we find it difficult itself to accept that it's simple. Now, I said it's simple because that is all there is to it. But I said it's not easy because we need to bring about transformative change within ourselves. And change is never easy because human beings love to do what they've been doing. That's another reason to the earlier question, the wealthier get wealthier.
Yeah.
And poverty-stricken often stays there. But, of the wealthiest people in the world, there'll always be a good number who are born in poverty. This person's self-made, this person is gifted, this guy is so good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that person is abnormally gifted or better than anyone else. But that person understood what we're talking about.
The assignment.
Right? And the alignment happened.
Yeah.
And life carried on. So yes, to answer your question, it is that simple. But it's not easy. Because we have to go back as adults, to where it all started. The absolute core, where things begin. And then we start redoing things.
Yeah. So Pushkar, we earlier talked about some methods. So I'm sure that our audience wants to know how can they adapt those methods into their everyday life so that they can have a better connection with money and they can, become more wealthier. So what are some of the techniques that you would like to tell our audience?
Yeah, sure. I often say, Rangoli, that all of us human beings are the same, yet we're different.
Yeah.
We're all the same because it's the same machinery, it's access to the same knowledge, and it's the ability to do the same thing. We're all different. Every human being is unique, so no two people are the same.
Yeah.
So we all wired a little bit differently. Methods that might work for one person will not necessarily work for the other person.
Yeah.
So what I've tried to do in my book is lay out quite a few methods which have worked for people over the years I've known or for me personally. And I suggest a model called the daily ritual to manifest your infinite riches, which people derive from a huge menu of lots of different ways, and I explain how they can use them. So let's just pick on a couple here. There's one called visualization.
Yeah.
Okay? The subconscious mind in particular is hugely amenable to images. So we as human beings think in images, we don't think in words. The subconscious mind loves images. So when you visualize, you see an image. Not everyone can. That's where vision boards come in.
Yeah.
But of all of these, the method I really like, and I think it brings together lots of these other methods in one. So a dear friend of mine, Natalie Ledwell, came up with Mind Movies. And she's been associated with some of the work we've done. She put in a good endorsement for the book also. And Natalie came up with Mind Movies, two decades ago or something. And that's the technology for you to produce a 3-odd minute live video for yourself. That's visualization. There's text you can put there, and there's music that all comes together. So I think of it as almost manifestation on steroids.
Wow.
Because when you do these methods, when you use these methods, the idea is to evoke the emotion inside of you that you already are who you want to be. And that's what we'd said earlier with the subconscious mind. If you're convinced you already are who you want to be, the pattern has been changed, it'll manifest. And that's what Mind Movies does. It brings all of it together. To some people, just images, to some people, just music, to some people, just words. It brings all three, and that's why it's so powerful. Right? So those are three methods we touched upon. You could write letters to yourself. You could write a dream life script. But all of these work towards evoking the emotion of you already are, therefore changing the pattern. But along the journey, it's again what we discussed earlier, there'll be points where you're asked, almost told, to take action. You must, because that will progressively increase the frequency vibration, taking you to where you eventually have to.
And these methods without any action, I think they are just incomplete tasks.
They're absolutely incomplete. Yeah. Action without the methods can give you results, but unlikely to give you perfect results. Methods without the action will absolutely not give you the results.
Definitely. So, in today's discussion, we talked upon how to have a healthy relationship with money, how to, adapt those patterns. We talked about some techniques. And now we are nearing the end of this discussion. Any message that you would like to give to our audience from the book that you think is very meaningful and would help them to create more abundance and more wealth in their lives?
I'd say, Rangoli, an audience, I would say that think about my opening sentence in the book I alluded to earlier. I said, yes, you are infinitely rich. You are infinitely rich because you are you. When you think about this, you realize we take you back to a core truth. And that core truth is every human being is infinitely rich.
Yeah.
Somehow this process called living, these struggles that we think are a part of our life, take us away from that truth. We try taking our audiences back there because every human being wants to grow. Growth is a fundamental part of who we are because our soul is a fragment of universal spirit. And spirit always wants to grow, wants to expand, express itself. So we are essentially universal spirit. But we've got to bring that side of us out there. And that happens when there are four things that come together. You live in spiritual harmony, in harmony with your soul. You're living your purpose. Don't worry about the money. It comes. You realize and accept the incredible potential inside of you, spectacular potential. You unleash what I call the colossal forces within you.
Colossal forces.
It is colossal. Absolutely. And you embrace abundance and prosperity. When you're doing these four things, that's the essence of what we have in the book through all the methods of the 4-step journey I've explained. When all of this comes together, I think you're truly awake. When you're truly awake, you're on the path to become the person you always meant to be, to manifest your infinite riches.
Wow.
That's money and so much more.
Yeah.
To become the highest epitome of who you were meant to be when you're still in divine form.
Definitely. And that is why it's not infinite money, it's infinite riches in the title of your book.
Yes.
And I hope our audience also got the clarity of who they are meant to be, how to be abundant, how to be wealthy in their lives through this discussion.
Absolutely, that is the idea. It's like a wake up.
Yeah.
Wake up to the fact that you have it inside of you. The colossal ability, the word you picked up on, to become the person you always meant to be.
Yeah.
First, define it, then bring about the change, and then manifest it. That is all there is to it. It took me 15 years to do this, through my 15-year journey. But everything I did and learned and studied, this 500 plus books, God knows what all, is there. It's there for audiences to do it in 6 months or 9 months or a year. It's not going to happen overnight. We need to work. Might be a year, 2 years, 6 months, 9 months, but it's all there. And that is the biggest gift they can give themselves.
Yeah.
Is to start doing that. It's a pretty affordable book across the world, and the idea is to get that out to people so they can learn what is in there and start affecting change, which takes their vibration where it should be. And when lots and lots of people do this across the world moves up vibrationally.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much, Pushkar, for joining us today and for this insightful discussion.
Oh, thank you, Rangoli. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you, the audience, for listening to me. Thank you.
So stay tuned with us and do tell me, what is your connection with wealth? How do you think we can manifest more wealth in our lives? What is your takeaway from today's podcast? Do let me know in the comment section and share it as much as you can. I'll see you in the next one. This is Rangoli Sharma with you. Namaste.